next up, in the next session, we have Bill Bien in conversation with Albert Greenberg of Microsoft. Albert leads the design and development of cloud networking services and technologies at Microsoft. He's one of the pioneers in deploying SDN technology, and I'm sure he has the scars to prove that. So I'll invite Albert and Bill to come up here and share their experiences.
All right, so I'm Bill Bean. I'm CEO of Six Connect. We're going to have a bit of fun with this. I'm a startup guy. Albert, at this time, is not industry leader, so I'm going to ask him some questions as a startup would. So, Albert, tell me about Azure, its services and value to customers, not just the big enterprises, but also to the startups.
Sure. So, Windows Azure is Microsoft's big bet on the cloud, and we offer utility computing, meaning you pay as you go for cloud services. Now, we do have, we love the enterprise. We also love the startup. We're providing different services for different segments. We find even the startups, though they themselves may not deploy huge applications, benefit from the scale of Azure. So, for example, we have Hadoop in the cloud and analytic services in the cloud and great durability, which everybody relies on in the cloud. So you can benefit from the elasticity and scale of Azure even if you're a startup.
So let's dive a bit deeper into the scale. Tell me the growth that's going on at Azure, and again, pulling this back to the theme of this conference, how does that relate to software-defined infrastructure?
Sure. So we really have gigantic scale, and the growth is the biggest challenge we have. So just to give some numbers to give a feel for Azure, we have tens of mega data centers with hundreds of thousands of servers, millions of VMs, and we offer all kinds of compute, storage, and network services. So the more scale numbers. In terms of storage, for example, we've done about 4 trillion objects to date. We're processing about 250,000 requests per second, and that's average. Peak is about 1 million requests per second. In terms of the data centers I mentioned earlier, they're doubling every 6 to 9 months. So it's just stunning to think about what you just built 6 months ago is going to be doubled, and old stuff you built 3 years ago is going to be decommissioned. So the pace of innovation and growth is really amazing. In terms of introduction and also kind of the whole value prop of SDN, we could not do this. We have not done this without software control all the way across the stack. So we in the last weeks announced our infrastructure as a service offer, which we'd been working on for about 3 years, and I'm really happy I'm now able to talk to you about it. But that altogether was a big bet on the network and keeping track of or using the network to manage all these resources that I've discussed.
Let's go a bit more into that. So what does this mean in terms of the changes that you've made in the provisioning and the configs to make it the scale achievable? Because that was a big issue a couple of years ago.
Okay, sure. So we had to change everything, and we couldn't change everything, for example, in hardware automatically. Even things that where we need to touch hardware, we had to do it in a totally automated way. So when folks talk about SDN, often they give this model that there's 3 tiers. There's a controller, well, there's a management layer, and which is sometimes called a northbound API. Then there's a controller. Then there's a data plane. In the cloud, that's kind of I would say that is built in. There's no way to avoid that. So you have to declaratively describe what you want if you're outsourcing it to the cloud, including the network, and then you have to deploy within that network your hosted services and consume other services. So the rate of change of that stuff is just tremendous. Again, in terms of numbers, we get about 1,000 new customers a day. You cannot have a person touching anything with those kind of numbers. So they're constantly growing and shrinking existing services, adding and deleting new services, and you have to map what they request into some sort of controller and then into the network without anyone touching any physical device.
So architecture no doubt led this, right? So what is your interconnect topology? Where are you going with that? Are you going down the path where you may build switches? What's happening there?
Sure. So in terms of the physical network, we really have had to innovate to produce a much flatter, higher bandwidth, and powerful network. One place where you can read about this is in a blog that our storage team produces about Azure's flat network. But essentially, we had to rethink the network when we went from a 1 gig traditional hierarchical network to a 10 gig flat network. And some of the attributes of that is in terms of what components to use. Really, we talked to each and every supplier of component, from the merchant silicon guys to the traditional vendors to the silicon photonics guys, and put together a cloud-optimized SKU. And then it's a decision case by case whether we build or buy.
Okay, great. Last night I was talking to some of the other startups in the audience, and we all had this question: what are the performance SLAs that you have, that you focus on at Azure, that benefit startups? What are some of the concerns? Outages are a big concern for a startup. If I put half of my IT structure up in the cloud and it goes down, I'm dead. So what do you guys focus on there? What makes you different? How do you add value to startups?
So there are a few things. So on performance, I mean, it's a big deal to the enterprise to have predictable, consistent performance, and so we offer a range of profiles you can buy for the compute, storage, and network. One place, for example, there where we know that an SLA is important is in the spanning of the enterprise in the cloud. So one thing that I've not really talked about up till now is that we need to offer and this is where I think we will try to differentiate, is to offer a very reliable, resilient span of services across enterprise and cloud. And so one of the SLAs, for example, has to do with the lifetime or the availability of the VPN connection, which allows you to span the enterprise and the cloud and reuse resources flexibly between them in a seamless way. So there's a specific SLA around that.
Okay, good. So again, with startups and entrepreneurs in the audience, can you tell us some of the metrics going forward you're going to make improvements on or are planning to make improvements on that benefit not just enterprises but entrepreneurs as well? Sure.
So we are driven a lot by the needs of our customers and our infrastructure. For example, if I look at storage, we've dropped the price of storage 10x and grown the size of storage 4x. So that you cannot do that without rethinking storage and using new technology. And again, the fundamental thing about our architecture is that we separate the storage and compute in our data centers. So this puts greater pressure on the network. That's what forced us initially to move to higher NIC speeds. But overall, one of the areas of innovation is twofold. So one is some of the other speakers talked about it, allowing customers to bring their own appliances and pretty much create whatever they want inside their virtual network. So those of you that are working on virtual appliance stories, that's of great interest to us. And then in terms of innovation, again, we're innovating in every direction, but innovation in the physical network, we see a lot of pressure on the host now. And so we were looking for innovation from the NIC providers. There's essentially the VM density is going up in the host, and you don't want to consume too many resources that could be otherwise used for customer cycles on network processing.
Great. So looking forward, we all get asked this question when we talk to venture capitalists, what keeps you awake at night, right? What are the dependencies or the risks that keep you awake at night related to Azure? What are the growth opportunities that keep you awake from excitement? Sure.
So it's kind of an easy one because we want to sleep at night. And and our biggest challenge is growth and scale. So we are at this tremendous pace of growth in the cloud, and software is the only solution because we can't hire engineers for each new object or anywhere. It has to be super sublinear. By the way, we are hiring, so we're looking for great engineers all the time. But so it's the complete mastery, and I think Guru talked about it a little bit, understanding the total topology, everything that's going on through software so that you can keep growing data centers, keep adding new customers and features, and keep up with the pressure of growth. Great. So last question, innovation opportunities specifically that you see more broadly in either infrastructure, well, software-defined infrastructure? I think, let's see. So one thing that I'll just repeat, I think, is that we have, maybe somewhat in contrast to some of the other talks, we're not just starting out or trying this. We've been doing this for 3 years or so, and we're offering services as a result of the software-defined network. So I don't see there's any going back. I think what we'd like to see is some greater progress in some fronts. Overall, we like the entire philosophy of the OpenFlow idea, where we're simplifying the physical network, having a stable socket to the controller, and that would allow us to innovate faster in other areas of federated controllers for different types of SDN applications, for example, application load balancers, firewalls, and so forth, IP address management, and other higher layer functions. Great. Albert, thanks for your time. I'm sure it was good for everybody. Thank you.